Hello, good evening again. Welcome to this session. We are back with two young and dynamic founders of one of the leading medical cannabis company of US. Welcome Pulak and Priyanka again on our platform, and we
Thank
are
you for
happy
having
to
us.
have you here. It was a very nice introductory session, I remember, and we got very good feedback. And now we are in the second session of this series, and let's have some technical discussion today because in India, what we have felt is still it is at a very initial level in terms of the research, in terms of the evolution of this particular domain that is medical cannabis. And you people are lucky enough to have a good exposure out there in West, especially in US and Canada, in terms of many aspects. But still, we are also having a huge population, and we are seeing our own results in last, I will say, actively around 4 years. So first of all, I want to quickly touch upon as far as the use of CBD is concerned in the entire world. What I felt, I interacted with certain international patients as well. On one side, they are more evolved. I have seen in Indian patients, especially who does not have the international exposure, they are not much aware about CBD. Maybe some of them heard about CBD, but the mindset is not that much still. And in India, the problem is we are only focused and practicing full spectrum extract till now. Some companies have started getting the approvals on the basis of CBD or CBD THC ratio. There is one clinical trial have been submitted specifically studying about the cannabinoids and all. So now the Indian regulatory people are also understanding, and they're opening up to these kind of products as well. And same applies to Indian patients. Still, in India, CBD is not that much popular as compared to the medical cannabis entire domain, or maybe the classical Ayurveda having the medical cannabis or as an ingredient. But yes, the international patients or the people who have international exposure, they specifically sometimes ask for CBD specifically in their like health conditions, because they have that exposure of either West, US, Canada. Some are from Australia as well, and some part of Europe as well. So in India, we feel that still it is not that much focused. However, as a clinician, as a practitioner, I feel that we should focus more. There should be choice of medicines and choice of products where people can have as per their own permutation and combination, because for us each cannabinoid has an importance. So what you feel, what you think as far as West is concerned, the exact use of CBD, the real world data, if we can have from your end, if you can throw some more information on this particular aspect. Over to you, Pulak and Priyanka.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up this real world data concept. And this is something that has become increasingly important in United States, especially to the FDA here. Really, sincerely, there's a lack of clinical evidence in the literature for CBD, for the other cannabinoids, and beyond that, the ratios of CBD to THC, and even ratios of cannabinoids to THC, and what they do for consumers. So, what we found interesting is over the past couple of years, if you look at the FDA's dialogue, including in stakeholder sessions, they talk about this initiative to collect real world data because there are so many consumers that are taking CBD. CBD is available in many different forms. You mentioned there's a full spectrum. So, there's consumers that have access to a natural extract from CBD. There's also consumers that have access to the other non intoxicating cannabinoids like CBG and CBC. And then there's the consumers that in their states, they have access to a recreational marijuana dispensary where they can actually access products with high levels of THC and low levels of CBD. So, this is the problem that the regulators are facing when they're trying to understand the market is consumers actually have access to so many different types of products. But I think for the purposes of this discussion, we can talk about what's happening from hemp, because as you mentioned, medical cannabis, and we talked about this on the last webinar, that's a term specific to India, but in United States, there's actually different categories of where these products are found. So I'll, let Pulak talk a little bit about this. But one thing that we are aware of is consumers are seeking out CBD for pain, sleep, and anxiety need states. And this is something that has been documented by our Department of Public Health and Environments in different states, as well as by the FDA. And this has been through surveys that they've taken of consumers that are looking for CBD. So if you do a quick search now for CBD, or even if you want to do a search for the opposite, how do I solve my sleep problem, you will come up with a CBD product. And what's been most interesting to us is the consumers in Colorado, for instance, that have had access to marijuana dispensary products to the recreational side. They may feel a certain way about that, which is a CBD to THC ratio. Others who have just tried a hemp product, they're also documented using that for sleep as well. Isn't that right, Pulak? There's just so many different products that these consumers have access to, but they are looking for a lot of the same need states.
Yeah, that's exactly right. People want products that work, and they want the product to be safe, right? So I think the it's an important combination to dial in, right? Of, as Priyanka mentioned, around FDA's, there's some risks associated with that FDA has identified for CBD, and a lot of that is making sure that you're making a product that is safe. So that's number one, right? If a product is not safe, you shouldn't be trying to market it and sell it. And dialing that in, making sure that the product is safe at the dosage level is very key. And then the second component is really looking for efficacy. And if you look at online, you go on the websites, such as the government websites that track, for example, people that are filing patents, or people are filing patents for different need states, or the clinical trials that they're doing with cannabinoids such as CBD, you'll see that it continuously increases. That being said, we believe that there's an opportunity for it to explode once there is a lot more clarity around allowing CBD to kind of get out of this box that has been put into, where it's still kind of under the CSA, right, which is the Controlled Substances Act. And because of that, the larger companies, the larger institutions are not able to actually get in there and do the work needed. But at the end of the day, the three indications that it seems to all point towards for CBD is going to be pain, anxiety, and sleep.
Yeah, and Pulak brought up an important point. So right now, to a large extent, research is blocked in United States. Getting IRB approvals for a certain subset of people that may apply to a study, that itself is something that United States researchers don't have access to when they do for other products. So what's now been documented is what they call observational studies. So Kasmira participated in one with a company called Valid Care, and that's an important study. They looked at a ton of products that are in the market that they know consumers are taking, and they tracked that consumer over a certain period of time. So that's really what's available right now. And I would urge in India for any of the doctors or any other healthcare practitioner, start documenting what your patients are coming to you for either it's CBD or other cannabinoids. Document their experience, because what we're finding in the United States is these are becoming important sets of data that will determine products in the future and how we look at their safety profile.
And one of the things that we haven't even talked about is a lot of the conversation is around humans, right? But in America, people have lots of pets, and that's a big component of the endocannabinoid system in the body. It exists in mammals, so it exists in pets as well, and it's also an important thing to consider when you're thinking about creating products or designing clinical trials. How does that, do you want to develop a pet product? Because guess what? Anxiety is real in dogs. If you have pets and, firecrackers go off, they can get pretty wild. So how do you, are there products that cannabinoids can help with that just take it a notch above what are the existing products on the market today?
Yeah. So, Dr. Piyush, how do you feel hearing these three terms, pain, sleep, and anxiety? Is that something that in India you're experiencing as well, that patients are pointing
Mhm.
to those three need states and looking for CBD to help alleviate in those?
Absolutely, absolutely. See, as far as pain, anxiety, and sleep is concerned, in fact, in India, we need to understand that when already they are having these issues, either they are going for the allopathic system of medicine for the treatment, and or other system of medicines as well in Ayurveda or any other pathy. Like we also have Unani practitioners here, homeopathy and all. And when they get the solution, sometimes they are either having side effects. For example, for pain, if they are taking
Yeah.
highest level of painkillers, they have side effects, and they come to us these days, or maybe in past as well. In Ayurveda, till the time we don't have any good painkillers, but after medical cannabis evolved in India in last 4 5 years. And why I'm repeatedly saying medical cannabis, because in India till now, there are very few, in fact, companies. Recently couple of companies got approval legally to practice and to like put in their labels that amount of THC, CBD, and all. In that context, also want to bring this particular aspect that apart from CBD, all the other cannabinoids, and especially the THC, which has been painted negatively all the time, in
Sure.
many aspects. Still, we have seen in medical science that is also required in some aspect. Like for example, if you are talking about pain, in certain kind of pain, if we have some amount of THC, it is beneficial. Although in epilepsy, or in the case of seizures, or in the pediatric population, we prefer the CBD. We prefer do not to have THC, and maybe have minimized THC. So these are some specific indications clinically which we know that if we give, and if we can have some permutations and combinations, we can, like for example, in sleep and insomnia also, sometimes we have in India these kind of patients who are already taking multiple allopathic medicines like sedatives, antidepressants, and still they are not able to have good sleep. I remember one patient with 4 pills at a time he was taking, and still he was not able to sleep. And then when we shifted him to medical cannabis, first I started with CBD, but in that way I was not getting that best result. But when I started with a full spectrum option where there was some amount of THC as well, the results was better. So in certain acute cases where we need to immediately give them the relief, we need some amount of THC as well clinically. But yes, we know that if we can get a good, but in India the problem is we are not getting the standardized raw material till now. We are looking forward now to some states whenever they will have, very soon, I think hopefully in 2023 we will get to know about couple of states with some good policy where we can have the standardized raw material for medicines. So till now it is full spectrum. Till now it is like whatever we are getting from the wild cultivation. But yes, I think companies like you, Casmira, and other international companies who will now look forward to India and may come to our country and have good quality products, I think then we'll be able to give our patients specific approach and specific treatments. We know, and certain patients carry certain imported products for their personal use. And I have seen personally the results of good quality
Yeah.
CBD, and some good standard combinations of CBD and THC. So, what do you think as far as in US is concerned? If we talk about in these two dimensions, like the non CBD cannabinoids, but exactly the data, or maybe the usage or the popularity of any other particular cannabinoid you see, and if we talk about THC, so how US population, or maybe the US professionals of medical background and the scientists, or maybe people like you, but you think that CBD along with some amount of THC, or maybe some equal ratio some companies are positioning. So what do you think, and your inputs on these aspects, if we can understand? Because here in India it's just a full spectrum right now. We are in
Right.
the stage of evaluation, and people like you, companies like you, and other will help us to take it forward from here. But I want to, and our followers want to understand the concept and the understanding you
Right.
people have in US.
Yeah, I'd like to ask just a clarifying question on what you just said, Dr. Pierce. So, what is on the label of the products now that you have
So
access to,
it
and
is
what are
mentioned.
you looking? What detail are you looking for that's missing?
So it is mentioned Vijaya leaf extract. So they have the Vijaya leaf. Vijaya means the cannabis plant in Sanskrit.
Mm, mm,
So, or maybe you can write medical cannabis leaf. You are taking the part is leaf, which is allowed,
mm.
and which is out of the purview of NDPS Act. The seeds and the leaves. You can't take flower and bud. That is under narcotics here in India. That is not legal for medical usage. You can only have till now leaf and seeds. Very soon we have some policies from couple of states where they are allowing flower and bud as well for medical usage, but we need to understand what exactly they will be in the policy. It is in the draft stage right now, but till now we only are allowed, our companies are only allowed to take leaves as the raw material. So from there they are taking the extract either in the ethanol form of extraction or CO2. And I think one or two companies have started the nano as well. I am not
Yeah.
clearly right now confirmed, but CO2 I am confirmed that couple of companies have started till now in India. Predominantly they were doing and they are doing ethanol extraction. So from there they are extracting and they are putting up the extract in the medicines, and the label says Vijaya leaf extract or cannabis leaf extract. But the second question which you have asked is what we want, and as a clinician what we, and I have understood as far as the study of this particular domain is concerned. So when I started the practice, I did a complete exhaustive research of the entire world, including from the Israel, but it started, and now the US and Canada. I got a chance to qualify certain advanced level certifications as well. And when we interacted with the international physicians and clinicians, we got to know the more specific we have, the more specific knowledge we have about the product, the better we will be in terms of doing the medical management of a particular case, because we have sometimes pediatric population, we have sometimes senior citizens, we have sometimes
Mhm.
psychiatric cases where in the acute form of schizophrenia it is contraindicated if you give THC to those kind of maniac or those kind of schizophrenic cases sometimes, as compared to a mild amount of anxiety and stress can be managed. But yes, again we don't have that opportunity to have ratios, we don't have that opportunity to get a specific product where CBD or maybe the the best product. In fact, that is the reason I got connected with your organization. So as a clinician I was always looking for something where the entire cannabinoids can be there except THC. So that was my goal and my objective, to get those kind of products, because we know the benefits of the entire full spectrum minus THC in many cases. But yes, I
Right.
am not against THC. We need THC in some cases as well, especially
Sure.
in some acute cases. So in that way we can develop this domain as a specific branch wise or category wise domain as well. So maybe you can throw some light, both of you, what exactly in US happening as far as the non CBD cannabinoids and the THC is concerned. And then maybe we can took up on the last topic which I specifically wanted to raise, but after these questions, about certain fundamental understandings about the broad spectrums and the isolates as well. But that we will take upon after this particular discussion of non CBD cannabinoids and THC positioning in US. So please throw some light on this first.
Yeah, so I can start off on kind of the THC component. So in the United States today, right, most THC products are consumed in the form of the leaf, in the form of the flower, right? So that's where it's consumed. And then people use it for whether they're using it for sleep or pain, for anxiety, or for another other ailments, whether it's glaucoma or something like that. So um, it's because, and I hate to say this, but because THC is so vilified, kind of globally, but in the U.S. it's still under the Controlled Substances Act as a Schedule 1 product, drug. It it's difficult to do meaningful research, right? A lot of it is anecdotal. That being said, that allows, once that changes or once that's either rescheduled or some new definition is found, then I think that will really allow for the new product type, the real innovation to happen, where you can make specific dosages of finished products such as tinctures or gummies that can be used and actually can be clinically studied, right? Whether what is the right dosage for sleep, for with the THC product. So I think that is going to help a lot. And then I think the 2.0 version of that is going to be these CBD to THC ratios, right? Really dialing those in to find out how does that affect the efficacy for a certain population, for sleep, for anxiety, for different ailments? And that is really going to move the needle on, frankly, a lot of the work that needs to be done in this category.
Yeah, I think Dr. Piyush, you would be just amazed if you had a chance to come to the United States and come to a cannabis dispensary, because what Pulak is getting at is the consumption of THC is in the flower, and there's so many different strains of flowers that are produced here, and they have different percentage of THC by dry weight. But what we're finding at these dispensaries is the folks that work there, they are very knowledgeable about what to tell consumers when they come in. They're, again, Pulak mentioned anxiety or sleep. They'll point to a strain that they know can alleviate some of those symptoms. So that's how dialed in that specific consumer is. They understand what specific strains of flower will do for them. This is not even going to the extract. I think, Pulak, you made a great point. What's going on our side is when you extract and then you actually put it into product forms, you get an opportunity to dial in the dosage and dial in the milligram per serving or per container size of CBD, of other cannabinoids, and of THC. And Dr. Piyush, what's really missing is what probably is a longitudinal study. You have not been able to study patients taking CBD alone. You don't also know the specific ratio or standardized formats of other products. So it really needs to move to this next stage beyond extraction, because the product that you're describing, what it sounds like is there's a basic extract that comes from that hemp plant, and it can change based on the harvest or the cultivation aspects of that time. It can change. It's not standardized. The terpene profile could be different. There's so many things that are in the spectrum of that plant. And I think once you get to the isolates, then you can start to understand how you can make a very standardized product.
And again, what we're describing is the medical cannabis component, right? Of folks coming in for specific need states, right? That's what this conversation is about. That being said, there's plenty of the population that wants to, frankly, just get high, right? Be aware of that as well. And those consumers are typically the ones using the flower products.
No, but in that way, I just have a small confusion here, and then I will come to the next aspect.
Sure.
So, as you, Priyanka, mentioned about the dial-in in a particular product, so I need to understand, because I am a bit confused. Here in India, the patients does not have the access to the raw material. They only have the access to the end products. At least the end products have some kind of a dosage. You're absolutely right. We don't have standardization right now. We can't trace that in each extract what exactly is
Yeah.
the profile of the cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids and other ingredients. And definitely it will be different in different batch. I can completely understand your concern, and I'm also concerned as a clinician. But at least we are getting results and patients are getting healed. That is our primary motto. But we need standardization, and I think that's why companies like you have a very valid, I think, reason and viewpoint to collaborate with the Indian institutes, universities, and Indian government to take it forward in terms of developing some standards and standardization aspects in our country. That is a different discussion which we can have maybe in a different session as well. My concern or my question to you is, uh, are you saying that in these kind of dispensary patients have the access to the raw flower, or that kind of access is also there?
That's correct.
That's correct.
A
Yeah.
product here are buds. You can literally buy buds.
By gram weight, right? And they have, as Priyanka mentioned, they'll have terpene profiles specific because of how they were grown, harvested, where that will exhibit much higher terpene profile for
Yeah.
an intended effect.
But these are very high strength THC
Right.
plants. These are plants that are grown in a very small greenhouse under very specific conditions, different lighting, things like that. So the scale is different than when you look at hemp, which is grown on 1,000 acres of land, and you have to harvest that entire material and turn that into an extract.
Right. So in
Yeah.
terms of extraction is concerned, in terms of the product labeling is concerned, there are three
Yes.
predominant categories which we understand as per the international exposure: full spectrum, broad spectrum, and isolates. Now,
Yes.
many times we got this query on our platform, and I want to right now put it across to both of you.
Sure.
Please explain exact difference between the broad spectrum and isolates. That is very, very important, because sometimes we are also confused as a clinician that what exactly the company wants to convey, because companies sometimes are also, I have seen, maybe because I have seen on the broad spectrum labels, sometimes I feel that the label is of an isolate, but they are putting it as a broad spectrum. So we are also confused in terms of the products are concerned. So if you can define or you can standardize as per the international standards, what can be the, or what can be the definition of a broad spectrum and a isolate? Point number one. Second, as a clinician, what can be our checklist, that if some company is coming to us saying that our product is broad spectrum or our product is isolate, so what exactly the checklist we need to implement to check that what exactly it is, so that we can take our decision in clinical practice and accordingly adopt that product as well. So any one of you can start, and please let us know about this. It's a very important aspect we need to discuss today.
Sure. Sure. So, yeah, for
I don't
us,
know that we can talk about international as much as we can talk about Colorado,
right? That's what I was going to go.
where we've actually defined these three terms. Is that where you were going, Pulak?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll start with I guess the basis for this. So when we look at the definition of these three terms, we want to make sure we're defining a product where there hasn't been a reintroduction of another component. So what you're describing is probably a company that has reintroduced CBD isolate and other isolated cannabinoids to a base oil and called that broad spectrum oil. That's not broad spectrum oil. So we want to make sure we're looking at the intent of a natural extract from hemp. So in Colorado, they've looked to the Farm Bill, which has defined hemp as any plant in cannabis genus that has less than 0.3% THC. So full spectrum oil is an extract of the hemp plant that has less than 0.3% THC. In a lot of cases where companies are making raw ingredients, that THC in the process is going to exceed that 0.3%. But when you make a full spectrum product, they want that to be under 0.3%. The broad spectrum extract is similar to the full spectrum extract, except that the THC is at a non-detectable level. So it's the product that you described before, Dr. Piyush, where all of the natural components exist, but the THC is non-detect. The final is the isolated version. And in the case of CBD, it's actually a powder, CBD isolate. So this is 99.9% pure CBD. Pulak, did you have anything to add to those categories?
Yeah, I think it also comes down to, the impurity profile, right? So that's a good way of telling apart the three, right? So if you think about CBD isolate at 99+% CBD, it's going to be this white powder, light tan sometimes, and it has very low impurities, right? The only impurities will be left might be some other CBDV component, that's in the CBD isolate, or maybe some color that comes in the CBD being a little bit tan or yellow. And then the big one where you see the impurity profile really discern itself is between the full spectrum and the broad spectrum. So full spectrum tends to have a lot more carbohydrates in it. It's much darker in color. It will have a lot more impurities from the plant, such as chlorophyll, that did not get purified or did not get refined enough, and those can have a significant effect when you're trying to make an end product at the right dosage, because not everybody wants to taste grass in their mouth, right? I mean, they just don't like that. So that's also something to be more mindful of, that when you are trying to make a sophisticated product like a lozenge, for example, that is going to be, in the mouth, in the buccal region of the mouth, it's important that it it not taste like grass. So yeah, that's where we can dial those in using our technology platform. But as we have seen more and more, THC is just one component to worry about, and it's a big one because it's a big impurity that has to be considered. But it's a bigger process where we have, somewhat like 30 different steps to take into all those things into account in our process to make the product at a level where it's very high purity, um, and that also leads to usually higher efficacy, right? That's the whole point. So, those all does that. I hope that does that give you what you're looking for, Dr. Piyush? Did I explain
Yes,
that well? Okay.
yes, absolutely. I think both of you described beautifully. It was an excellent aspect,
Yeah.
Priyanka, as well as you, Pulak, have mentioned while describing. On one side, Priyanka beautifully mentioned about the profiling of a particular plant, and you correctly mentioned the purity is inversely proportional. So I think that was an excellent aspect, and it will definitely give us better clarity. And I think you people have raised a very important concern as well today. See, standardization is required for any domain to be replicated and duplicated in a scientific way. And to each and every patient, they have the right also to be at an equal level in terms of getting the
Yeah.
medicine, specifically the ingredient. So, definitely, I think a country like India and other part of this world as well gradually were understanding the importance, and that's why the states are coming up with the policies as well. They are opening up for the contract cultivation, they are opening up for the research and development labs and extraction units to be established in their states. And after that, the Indian as well as global market will open up gradually. So these particular states are very much in focus of taking it forward to the next level with the support of science and with the collaborations. In fact, specifically when we had a discussion, so they were very much interested that yes, any countries who have already done a good amount of work, and in those countries, those organizations who are doing good amount of work in terms of this domain. So India is always looking forward to associate and collaborate with them, so that in mutual understanding for both parties and both countries, it will
Right.
be a win-win situation. So I think on that note, we'll definitely conclude this session today. Any concluding remarks, Pulak and Priyanka, you want to add on to this session, please do so. And we will be very soon coming up with the next session. And meanwhile, all of you can post your queries, comments. We have a registration form as well. If you can check the comment section, already many of you have registered in this. And if somebody has left, please do so. You can quickly fill up that form in the comment section. There are some questions as well which you can answer. And Kazmira is looking forward to associate very soon. We are planning to launch and to start business in India. So we are looking forward to associate with all the doctors, all the practitioners, all the professionals, healthcare professionals, people in the wellness industry. So all of you can join hands and collaborate with Kazmira so that we can understand. And not only in India, as Indian Vaidyas is also expanding now, and we have followers and doctors across the world. So if any doctor in US listening to this recording this live session, so please let us know. We can connect you there in US only. If you are in Canada, Europe, Australia, any part of this world, do let us know. We can connect you with them, Kazmira Group, and they will be very much interested in understanding about your needs and requirements and how they can help you out as well. So, any concluding remark, Pularak and Priyanka, you can please add to this. And thank you so much again for your time and for this very enlightening session today for our knowledge. And I think we got a very good understanding. I got very good understanding personally to many aspects after this session.
Yeah. No, I just love this conversation because a world away in India, the unmet need is the same, where you're looking to understand what you're giving your patient, and consumers here are looking to understand exactly what's in their product. So hopefully that, we can bridge that gap very soon here.
Sure.
Yeah, no, we appreciate the time, Dr. Piyush. I think, look, at the end of the day, CBD and specifically cannabinoids, they are kind of it's becoming more of a global conversation, right? Because everybody's looking to understand how can they use cannabinoids to make their life better for self-care. And it's really exciting to see that we can have these conversations to move the needle forward for cannabinoids in different end applications. So thank you.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you again,
Thanks.
all of you, for giving us this support. See you next time. Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.